Well, welcome, listeners. We're so happy to be here in the incredible, beautiful, illustrious home of none other than Ray Angry. Ray Angry.
This is actually called Goldfinger Manor.
Goldfinger Manor.
Oh.
I mean, the things that I'm seeing right now, just like for our listeners, I'm seeing a gorgeous, gorgeous painting, photo behind you. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Ray? What is sitting behind you on the wall?
It's by a really amazing friend who's an incredible artist, and I can't remember his name right now.
We'll add that in post. We're gonna get that in post.
His name is.
He would kill me if I didn't say his name.
We're gonna add that in
Always
post. Don't you worry.
Doing practical jokes.
Beautiful Abbey Road collage that has been pulled. All the colors have been tweaked and. Really just brought out in a montage of things.
What's funny about that photo is I ended up doing a session at Abbey Road Studios.
You're joking.
With Mick Jagger and Dave Stewart.
Okay, we're gonna
crazy.
We're gonna ask questions about that.
This is crazy.
Like
crazy. I was working with. I was Joss Stone's MD, and whenever she did gigs, I was everywhere.
Yeah.
So she was singing on the soundtrack for Alfie.
Okay.
And so they brought me in to help her with the music, whatever, if she needed help with anything. And so I'm there. And the producers were like, hey, can you play piano? Can you play organ on this? And so I played organ on something. Hey, can you replace the piano? And I was like, nah, I don't want to, I felt bad because the guy who played on it, he was there.
I mean, that's a rough place for any keyboardist and musician. It's like, hey, can you just like a little bit to the side, and I'm just gonna steal some limelight
and my
here.
Fondest memory, Mick Jagger probably wouldn't even remember this moment, but he was in the booth, and I was down in the recording room, and I was playing organ, and I look up, and all I see is him. He has his arms folded, and he's like
jamming.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
No.
Just that moment was really beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, that's like approval. You kind of get like moments of approval from your legends, right?
Yeah.
But okay, wait. So I'm imagining everything in here has a memory attached to it.
Absolutely.
What is this gorgeous photo of two beautiful women with afro? Describe it to us.
Those are two angels that are looking over me. I got this when I first moved in here, and everything.
Here is where are we right now?
Harlem.
Right, damn straight.
Harlem, the new Harlem Renaissance.
Damn straight.
And when I moved, everything in my life is based off of a vibe. When I buy clothes, I literally walk into the store and I see something that's like come to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, that's it. And that painting, I was buying buying a bed, and I saw that on the wall, and I was like, wait, what is that? Yeah. And see all the gold.
It's lined with gold, yeah, and there's little golden
I'm just
sparkles.
noticing that now.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing the gold
that's
now.
That's the beautiful thing about art. Like every time you look at it, based off of where you are, you're seeing it differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like a testament to how you are changing, how we're all changing and shifting and growing, right?
Exactly.
Like, oof. That's beautiful. We got over here.
They're helping me to look into the future and to see things as they are. And also as I want them to be,
the world lined a little bit with gold, right?
Yeah.
A little extra glimmer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We're sitting on a very soft, beautiful couch that has some special enhancements to it. Tell me more about this couch. How did this manifest?
Lovesack, the founder of Lovesack, was kind enough to gift this to me. I'm going to do something for his podcast.
Oh, amazing.
So he has an incredible podcast. And so
shout out to Nikki Birch.
Yeah,
that is.
Nikki
and Tariq.
Birch, exactly.
Tariq from Breeding Ground, man.
Yeah.
They're just lovely humans, and they got the Lovesack connection.
Yeah, they made the connection for me, and they were kind enough to gift me this beautiful couch that has a incredible sound system, surround sound, really great. Yeah.
And then, and I think there's some recognition. We got a teddy bear right behind you too. Is there a story behind that, or?
Well, there's a future Teddy story happening. I envision telling you guys earlier. I envision doing an immersive experience for Producer Mondays, where you have like giant teddy bears, and people can sit on the teddy bears. I just want to create an experience.
Yeah.
I did something right at this height of the pandemic. An artist named Catherine McMahon. She and I did a
She's
performance.
A vocalist
She's an artist.
Okay.
Visual artist. Okay. We collaborated on a project, and one of the shows we did, we had teddy bears. Because it was like we had to, social distancing
at that time. Yeah.
And so we used teddy bears. We used teddy bears. People would,
constraints foster creativity.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like that kind of a thing. Even in those moments, like, hey, we can distance with teddy bears.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So
it's making me think there's a series that one day I want to do of like having a room just coated in pillows, and then you're having like very serious and questions and conversations that are spurring emotions, and I want to call that series Uncomfortable Conversations in Comfortable Places.
Wow. I like that.
That's one day.
So good.
But I think we're getting a lens, and we're also sitting in front of a beautiful Steinway grand piano.
Oh yes, we love Steinway.
It's they're the heartbeat Steinway. Of any pianist, any classical musician, classically trained musician.
Yeah, we love any gift from Steinway.
And so, what is the story? What is the story behind this piano? When did you get it? When you moved here, did it come with?
I got this. I got this right before the pandemic. Actually, I wanted a Steinway piano, and I'm not sure how I found out about the piano, but there was a woman who was. She used to be a classical pianist, and then she became a piano teacher. And her son, I guess she was older at this time, and this piano went from the factory to her house, and it never left her house.
Wow!
So this is a 1940 Steinway with all the original parts, and the keys are actual ivory. And it's a beautiful piano. And so I just feel like, again, things just kind of come to me.
Right. Yeah.
And this was a perfect, and always wanted to be a Steinway artist. And so when I got this piano, funny enough, I was approached about being a Steinway artist. And that's how I became a Steinway artist,
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
it's the universe unfolds as it should. It's making me think. Have you seen the pianos around New York City that are painted?
Oh yeah.
There's an incredible artist. I mean, there's an incredible artist that I worked with, Alice Mizrahi. She's an incredible graffiti visual artist, and she participates. And I saw there was a piano. I worked with the Kingsbridge Heights Community Center that was uptown, and they had a grand piano that was just coated in this gorgeous painting, and they were like, we don't have a home for this. Do you know where we can go, what we can do?
Funny enough, that's where this painting came from.
Are you serious?
This picture, the artist Momoshi gave me this picture because when they started that program with the pianos around New York City, I performed. I played, at a performance a couple months ago, and the artist gave me this picture, and that's Questlove, and that's me.
Yeah. Oh man, this is
wild?
beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, this is
with the hat, with the quintessential hat. I didn't even notice that. No.
Yeah.
And the camera's on you exactly like it is right now.
Yeah.
Yo, this is dope. This is fire.
And I
didn't even know that he was going to give me this picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like Dr. Robotnik graffiti style crazy. Yeah. Oh, this is gorgeous.
And it's funny on Questlove's hat, don't be late. Because he is a real director and producer, and he's, it's like, and he also wears many hats, so you can see the many different, different sizes.
I'll tell you, so this, and we'll dive into Producer Mondays, and we'll kind of get into the show. I was talking with Brady Watt, who was just at the last Producer Mondays with Queen Latifah showed up, and Tiffany Haddish was there, and all of Talib's band was there, and Divinity Rocks, like good friends. And Brady was telling me he just came off of a tour with OAR, and he talked about, he's like, man, because he's like, we're performing arenas.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is like the first tour that I've kind of done in this way. And he was like, man, jazz, hip hop, like, yeah, I mean, you roll 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, that's cool. It's like, not for those shows.
Yeah, no,
8 o'clock, you are on the dot.
Yeah.
If you are short, they will dock that pay.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's like these things of like, I think you're talking about, Amir, this level. Once you get there, that it's like time is not something you mess with.
You have to be intentional.
Exactly.
That's why I don't call what I'm doing a jam session. Because there's no intention when you're jamming. When you're jamming, you're just kind of going off the cuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And funny enough, do you know where that term comes from? Off the cuff?
No, I don't.
Do it.
So, here's a fun fact. So I'm taking composition lessons from an incredible teacher in New Orleans named Mr. Dickerson.
Okay.
And he is one of the best teachers I've ever had in my life. So he was telling me just yesterday that off the cuff means, so you know those cufflinks?
Yeah, yeah.
So Duke Ellington, if he would hear something, he said, and he wanted to remember it, he'd write it on the cuff.
What?
If he had to say a speech or something, he wanted to remember whatever he had to say, he would write it on the cuff. And that's where the term from off the cuff comes from.
So Duke Ellington was the reason that is a phrase now.
Yeah.
Like he embedded that into the...
But all the he wasn't the only one that did that, but a lot of musicians and a lot of people did that. You would just write whatever you wanted to remember on the cuff.
It is a nice surface.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
you
It's
just
got
say,
like the flatness.
welcome everyone. You know, yes, you know, on drums.
Right.
Yeah.
Our vocalist tonight. Yes,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh my God.
Oh yes, in our trombone section we have you know,
hilarious.
Read it off the cuff.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
I love
if you
that.
want to remember a musical phrase, whatever, you write it down. Whatever. You know.
I mean, the funny thing is, I bet if you drew musical phrases and notes on a cufflink, I would buy that.
Yeah,
I would get.
That's pretty sick,
That,
actually.
and that
That's
has
pretty sick,
a
actually.
double like. That's,
Right.
For our designers that are listening, the fashion folks, please make that.
Please make that.
and we
That
will
would
talk
be
about
kinda
it.
dope,
That would be
actually.
such a fire.
Maybe your character is wearing that in the comics.
I think that's the.
Ooh,
Damn, that's G.
that
Yeah.
is G.
Some of his powers coming from there.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like when it gets activated, like some of the. we're visualizing here.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Wait, okay, so hold on a second, because you just dropped Producer Mondays. There's a lot of different places we can go, but
Yeah.
you talked about how that is extremely, extremely intentional.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen you stop a session to identify its mission, its purpose, what's happening,
Why
to
we're here.
articulate it to the audience. I thought it was actually one of the favorite moments that I've had to pause a session because something wasn't feeling right. I think at that point somebody stepped on stage that wasn't supposed to, and you said, "Okay, hold on a second. Here's why we're here."
Yeah.
Let me tell you. So walk us through the vision that Producer Mondays has. Bigger, because there's a lot of
listeners that
for
might not
listeners
know.
that aren't in this New York world.
Right.
Because this season, I think we mentioned why we wanted to really talk. It's all about world builders, people that have a very specific vision of a world they want to see, and they put their efforts into constructing this. So, talk us through how the first Producer Monday started. Tell us that story.
Okay.
And then reflect on where Producer Mondays is now.
Okay. That's very easy. Actually, the concept for Producer Mondays started at Electric Lady Studios.
Electric Lady Studios,
Yes.
for the folks that are listening, is
Yeah.
an incredible, iconic Jimi
Incredible.
Hendrix recorded every musician,
Everybody. Taylor Swift.
along with our friend here, Ray.
Yeah. D'Angelo, Common, Jay Dilla, all of them recorded at Electric Lady Studios. So the Roots decided that they wanted to work on their album and they wanted to do it at Electric Lady Studios. So they basically booked Electric Lady Studios for a whole month. So each room had a different set of producers. So basically, I would be there for a month and I'd go from room to room. Salon Remy would be in a room and then we'd be working on something, and then I would go work in another room with another producer. And then this is when I met Stro Elliott, And Stro Elliott and I were working together, and we were just, banging out records.
What year is this?
This is like 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2017 or so, 2016. It's around the time when Stro joined the Roots, I believe.
Okay.
Around that time. So we're in the studio creating, and Ilhan from New Blue had been hitting me up all the time. He's been hitting me up for years to do something at New Blue, and
this is the owner.
The owner,
guy.
yeah.
Cool guy.
And I kept telling him, no, I'm good, man. No. He kept asking me, hey, man, you should do something, and I didn't want to do a jam session, because jam sessions, cats aren't really listening. People are in their own world. And then at Electric Lady Studios, it hit me. I was like, wow, this would be cool if people can see us making records in real time. Mm-hmm. And so I said, Stro, hey, man, would you be down to rock with me at this club? And he was like, sure. And so I immediately I called it Producer Mondays. Like, because we're producing music on a Monday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Easy.
And so that came to me, and then, I was like, well, I want it to be a party, so I need a DJ. Then I was going to the Zinc Bar because, our friend Megan Stabile, she had a night at the Zinc Bar where she was doing something on Monday nights and also Thursday nights, I believe. Yeah, they did.
Maybe it might even been on Tuesdays or something. But like a regular session that you would come through.
Casey Benjamin was always there. Free Speech. Casey Benjamin and Free Speech were basically flip-flopping the night.
But he also DJ'd Studs McGee, right?
Exactly. So they were both DJing. And so I always loved what Free Speech was playing. I loved his style of DJing. And I said to him, I said, hey, man, I'm about to start this night. Are you down to, be a part of it? He was like, yeah. And so I got a DJ, and I had myself and Stro. And then I was like, I need a band. And so I called up Lex. I was like, hey, man, you want to be a part of this thing? Lex was like, sure. And then I called up Anwar. Actually, I called up Marcus Gilmore. And Marcus Gilmore, he turned me down. He said, nah. Yeah. He said, man, you should call Anwar. And so I called Anwar Marshall. And Anwar was like, I'm down.
Yeah.
And then we had Lex, Anwar. And then I met this kid who had just moved to New York, and he was like playing on the subway. He was playing on the subway, and someone told him to come to Producer Mondays. Yeah, and he basically moved to New York on faith.
Who is this? Beautiful.
Jeff Andy.
Get the fuck out.
Jeff Andy.
And you guys both have great hats too.
Yeah. Jeff Andy,
off the chain.
Yeah, Jeff Andy was playing on the subway. He was from Boston. He would come down to New York, and he was playing on the subway. And somehow he came to Producer Mondays and was like, "Yo, this is hot," And then he just became a part of the band. And then then basically I had this band, and Stro wasn't really playing with us around this time because
this is like a superhuman band already.
And Stro wasn't playing with us at this time because, his responsibilities at the Tonight Show became really great. So naturally he couldn't do it. And so I had a band. So it progressed from just two people, and there was no one really in the room. People would come somewhat, and then it was myself and the band. And then I would just have all sorts of singers, musicians come through. Yeah. Sometimes the room, it would be packed, sometimes it wouldn't. And during this time, quite honestly, I was... because I work with the Roots, I was doing so much with them and so many other people.
You were the Roots every single night. You were there, and then on Mondays you would stop. You would do this session, and it starts around 9, 10?
Around 9. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would be playing with the Roots and playing with all sorts of people, and I just kept putting a little bit of myself into this night. I wasn't sure where it was going to go.
You said the first one had 2 people there.
It was myself and Stro.
I love it.
And the audience, it was no one really coming. Right. It was
it's Monday.
Exactly.
Mondays are tough in New York.
Exactly. And so no one would really come. And so I was like, well, let me just keep doing it. and then I had a band. This was around 2018. And then I was doing it, and, it was cool. And then I stopped doing it.
When?
No, during 2018.
Okay, 2018.
2018 is when I started it. And so September of 2018 is when I started. So then around December, I sort of didn't do it anymore,
Okay.
And people kept asking for it. Like, hey man, when are you gonna do this? I was like, man, I wasn't sure about it, and plus I didn't really take ownership of it.
Yeah.
I had this idea and I sort of just threw it out there, and I didn't, I was like, yeah, I don't know what this is, and I'm, and I was putting I was invested in this thing. I was investing in this thing, and so something said, well, start it back up. I started it back up, and the rest is history. Then the pandemic hit, and I started doing it at my house in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, okay. I was like, you did it here?
No,
Whoa.
I did it at my house in Brooklyn. None of my neighbors complained. And then we went back to New Blue, and the rest is history. So, but also the other person that is really important to the story is Camilla Gibson, which was also one of the artists that came through, like so many other artists, and she kept coming back every week. And she just became a member of the band. There was no, I never had a discussion with anybody. Yeah. Hey, do you want to be in people just came back. Yeah. I was like, oh, well, guess you're in the band. Yeah. And that's sort of how it started. And then Caillou, he's our engineer, and he just was invested in making it sound good, and so the sound just developed over a period of time, and so now it's gotten to a place where I see the purpose of it and the importance of it. It's not just Producer Mondays is not just about capturing what people are doing on stage. It's not a concert. It's an experience. It's a social experiment. It's a place for what's most important are the people in the audience, and the people that are there, because there's no place in New York City or in the world for that matter where people get together and creatives get together and talk about ideas unless you're at the Grammys, unless you're at an award show, because people are working, everyone's busy. I remember Terrence Blanchard came through, and
incredible trumpet player.
Yeah. And he came through again with his band. And he was talking to me.
And he's all just hey, someone's just hey man, I'm in town, I'm just going to roll through. Yeah. Or you are, because obviously the network that you have, and I think that's what's beautiful about the New York music scene. All these people are here, are congregating. If someone's in town, hey, what's up? But I think this really became a destination, right? People were like, hey, this is where I want to go on Monday. Was there a moment that from the first one, you're like, no, there's a few people here. And you're like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. When you felt that transition, oh man, now I'm just getting hit up.
Well, here's the thing. I would tell people about it. I work with a lot of famous people, and I would tell them about, hey man, you should come to it. And even I was telling Quest about it. He was like, well, what is it? That's what everyone says. They're like, what is it? And one of the best there's so many amazing reactions. And to answer your question, the point where I realized it was something, there was one woman from Italy, who came through, and we had a break, and she was she pulled me to the side. She was like, I really want to thank you for what you created, because I was going to quit music. This event helped me to love music again. Thank you. Wow. Camilla in particular, when she came, she was working in corporate America, and she would work from 7 to 8 or whatever, and for her release, she would come to Producer Mondays, and she'd get to just create and get rid of the stress of just working in a corporate setting where she couldn't be creative.
Can you like think of like the log line of Producer Monday? What is that like? One sentence, two sentence, like this is what it is.
Producer Monday saved my life.
Okay.
I don't know. I just thought of that.
No, that's you know what? You know what?
Out.
It's like
because people said that to me. On more than one occasion, people have said Producer Monday saved my life. Some people are calling it church, like Producer Mondays.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a church. And I get that.
Yeah, it's a church.
And I get that. And I get that. But the point that the thing that I love about it is, for example, Jeff Andy came through and became a really big part of what we're doing, and we recorded an album that I'm really happy with, and that is changing and shaping up into something that I know it's going to be something really incredible. And I'm really excited about that. But the fact that, you know, Jeff was there and we had artists from major record labels, you know, Rock Nation artists came through, and before you know it, I see Jeff is working with Kanye West. That happened from being in Producer Mondays.
Yeah.
There was a kid named Jalen who's like, incredible drummer, incredible human being. You know, now he's playing with Herbie. You know, he didn't start at Producer Mondays, but he definitely came through.
Yeah.
And I hooked, we worked together. But the point is, the community that Producer Mondays has created has the potential to bring other communities around the world together. So on a larger scale, I see Producer Mondays as being a help and not a hindrance to the music world and to the world at large, just so that people, I guess my goal with Producer Mondays is to get people to embrace their differences and also to get rid of their bias when it comes to music and how music is created. I don't care what genre it is. All music starts from the point of improvisation.
Yeah.
Nothing starts out, boom.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Everything starts out from one note going to the next. It starts out with counterpoint.
Yeah.
The relationship between notes and those conversations that happen, but that comes from nowhere. And out of, of course you're writing it down and you sort of, it takes a long time to write a composition sometimes. But what the African tradition, the way they make music, where they made music eons and eons ago, that's not improvisation. Those are rhythms, sacred rhythms, and things that have been passed down from generations. Like, music isn't something that just lives on a sheet of on a blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
Music is a little bit deeper than intellectual, being intellectual property of someone who's thinking that they have the best form or the best idea of what they think music is, And also, quite frankly, if you're making music and it doesn't touch someone's souls, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like if you wanna like show how bad you are,
yeah,
you're amazing. Okay, great. Who gives a fucking shit?
I just love that it's so clear that is your intention.
Yeah, that's my intention. Yeah,
to touch people's soul.
Because the thing is, the ego is the worst thing that anybody can invest their all into. Because when you make music or do anything based off of your ego, you're living on an island by yourself, and you're the king of your island.
Fragmented.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and then you die, and no one gives a fuck. But I feel like the purpose of music is to bring people together. And also, people are supposed to share information, especially if someone is really bad. That's why I'm still a student, man. I don't care. I'll go up to my heroes and say, hey, man, how do I do this?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. And then if they blow me off, then that's a real dickhead move.
I mean, that's what's the saying? The wise man admits he knows nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're all students in that space, but cultivating a space that, there's really like, it's not even a passing of the torch, it's a sharing of the torch.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I think that to me, as someone that, I mean, I've even brought my horn, just a producer and just sat in the back and hung out and stuff. And you really cultivated a world. I want to just, like, for people that are listening, because you said the first part is the studio session. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just paint this picture. I walk in, it's 9:30. Mm-hmm. What's happening? What's the next hour and a half? What's the next hour and a half?
Well, in a perfect world, at 9:30, there's an opening band, and they're wrapping up, and our sound guy is setting up the stage and whatnot. And then 10 o'clock, our DJ is playing at 10, and people are coming in, and it's a party.
Cool.
It's a way to, like, just sort of decompress from the day. I also feel that it's important to sort of hit the reset button. And for me, when the DJ plays at 10, it's the reset button, and you're kind of preparing people for what's going to happen at 11. Because at 11, now you're going to walk into Narnia, and it's going to be a world where you're sort of like, oh shit, like, like the whole universe opens up, and you see 3 moons together, You know what I mean? You see shooting stars, and you're like, whoa, what is happening? And then you're hearing music being played that you've never heard before.
And that's
being created on the spot. And so that's the studio session vibe. And then after that, we have the DJ who's also hitting the reset button. Now we're resetting, recalibrating, getting water, getting coffee, getting tea, getting drinks, whatever you need, libation, And then after that, then there's a showcase element. So now you get to, artists get to come through and play their new music. Because everything is about the attention of creating and telling your story. Because music is about sharing a story, telling a story, talking about an experience you had, whatever, And so the artists that come through, they do that, And then after that, I open up the stage, and we have other people come on. I invite people on stage, and hopefully they're good and they're not like, drunk. I can sing.
Sometimes
I can sing. Let me on stage.
Yeah.
And that's the worst part of the night, when people who are, it seems like when someone's really not that good, they're really bold.
Well, this is, I mean,
and I'm trying to deter them from jumping on stage.
I used to have jam sessions in my apartment right around the corner here in Astor Row, and like I invite like folks like Brady or Tim Smith, or a lot of guys would come through, and every once in a while, me and Brady would just do a hike upstate, and I remember we were walking and talking. He was like, "Man, yeah, I really like those things. I love this idea of accessibility and inclusion." Mm-hmm. And Brady gave me some really good advice, and he was like, "Look, if you're trying to cultivate and curate these spaces where artists and musicians of a certain caliber, like, you got to be careful, because I get the inclusive vibe, but if you have some great musicians on stage and one person goes up and wrecks it, no one's going to say anything.
Right.
They're just going to stop.
Exactly.
Right. It's like, and it's your job to start to have this kind of curatorial mindset of thinking, who are the people that are going to come there that are of a certain caliber? And I think I have yet to see that at Producer Mondays. Everyone kind of gets it, right?
Yeah.
And
sometimes some people, when it's their first time there, they're just ready to jump on stage because they think it's a jam session.
Yeah. And this
I'm ready to jam.
And we were talking even in the setup of this space of like, you're not just a pianist and a keyboardist. You are a multi-instrumentalist. You are a producer. You have this hat. This is why I love film, because like directors and producers have to have this like really elegant, eloquent way of getting someone off the stage, but not making them feel bad about it.
I know,
and just
that's
be like,
the tough part.
Like, give someone else a chance, and you got your buddy lined up, and you do it so well. But
sometimes you gotta be an asshole. Sorry.
Okay.
Sometimes being an asshole is it just works perfectly. Get the fuck off the stage.
Yeah. Truth.
The fuck. What are you doing? This is not. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to say that, man, because some people don't understand boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And you see what's happening in the world is sort of, this is the age of Aquarius and the age of truth, and those things that are in the darkness shall be revealed. So you have this sort of awakening of minds, and in that regard, I just feel like some people just need to be told, hey man, what you're doing right there, is not working because they don't know.
Right.
Unless you say, "Yo, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
This guy's a world-class musician. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just no, we're not jamming.
Yeah.
And I have to say we're not jamming because when you have world-class musicians and they lock in
That's right.
on an idea, the whole purpose of the second half is for musicians to play together that normally don't get to play together.
Yeah.
Singers to work together. It's almost like a coffee shop setting for musicians where, you might be in the East Coast and there might be an incredible drummer there that comes from Georgia. And there might be another guitar player that comes from Chicago who never met the guy from Georgia. And hey, man, what's your name? Oh, cool. And you play together and you're like, oh my God, can you imagine the records that could be made when people work together that never played together? But it's the first instance of them playing. That excitement, it just creates magic. And to me, that's what made Marvin Gaye's albums amazing. First of all, let me not go to Marvin Gaye. Let's go to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Please.
Like those records, does it sound like they're jamming? But those records are from a place of improvisation.
Flow.
From flow. Actually, I had this idea because people are so into genres. I don't know if I should say this, but I had this idea to call it fluid music. Because music isn't one particular thing. It can be if you want to monetize it. It has to be one thing.
Yeah. The homogenization of music is happening with Spotify and all these algorithms that are pointing us towards one thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like this is so many different things, and just the idea of being able to curate a space for really awesome, incredible musicians to get together and to create a record on the spot. I think that's the recipe for future hit records, because to me the best records are the records where you have musicians playing in the same room. Look at Stevie Wonder. Like those records, when you listen to those records, man, you just sort of, you feel like you're in a room. It's almost like you hear people talk about, I heard a phrase where maybe Quincy Jones said, was talking about, leave your ego out the door so presence of God can be in a room when you're creating music. To me, that's what we're going for here, because when people are playing from a place of intention and everyone's on the same accord, that energy is what people are experiencing on Monday nights at Producer Mondays.
There you go.
And that's what makes it an incredible experience. And that's why, I really want to take it around the world and create a TV show, because there's nothing like it. All these TV shows out there, everything is about a gimmick. Some of the shit is not real, and some of it is just like real fucking bad, and it's like we're buying into the shitty music, and it's sort of like because of, this person got 20 million views. So the fuck what? It's not good music.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. We can have shitty music, right? But let the musicians who are really fucking doing the work, at least let us have some say so. If you're gonna have shitty ass music on TV all the time, then let some really awesome musicians have a space as well.
Yeah,
that's all I want. So, I want a space for real musicians, to have, because everything's a fucking gimmick, man. All the popular music, it's a fucking gimmick, and it's fucking horrible music.
Yeah,
and no one cares, but there's some people that do care, and they come on Monday,
right in the room. Right here.
What would you say are the important elements that contribute to the conditions you're creating in that room? Because what I'm hearing is that you create conditions and something emerges. And the thing that emerges transcends the room itself. And it's pure intentionality. So how does that take form for you? What are the conditions?
I think the most important condition is not creating from a space of ego. I think that's the most important. Funny thing, one of our singers, for example, Camilla and Leia. Camilla is an incredible artist. And she brought this little box. I forget what it's called. It's a vocal box. And she was like, yeah, I want to try this out. I'm like, yo, go for it. And here's the beauty of your question. She brought the box, and I forget what it's called. I should know what it's called, but she would have her have all kind of effects, and she would like try stuff, and sometimes it would not be good.
The trigger finger, like that beep, that.
No. It's a vocal box, okay. and you record you can loop. It's a looper.
Oh, yeah. Looper, right?
Yeah. So sometimes she would try stuff and it wouldn't work, and blah 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 blah, and then it would work. So that's killing. But the point is, like, experimenting and trying things out. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. We're not supposed to be looking good all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about her as an artist. She's willing to take risk. That's what I love about Kobe Bryant. Like, this guy will play a game and then go to the gym right after the game and then wake up at 6 a.m. and go, because it's not about being perfect. It's about, okay, well, if you lost the game, you say, okay, so next time I'm not going to do this. Okay, that didn't work. Cool.
Yeah.
Then you go back to the gym, work it out, go back to the game.
Again.
Boom. You scored 40 points. No, now you won the game. Oh, that was cool. Oh, that's cool. Go back to the gym. Next game, you lose. You have a shitty day. Depressed is talking shit about, You just go, okay. You're just like, that didn't work. Go back to the gym and try it out. Produce the money is like going to the gym. Mm-hmm. And being able to try stuff out, experiment, that makes you develop as an artist. Now when Camilla plays that vocal box, she's like an assassin.
Right. Yeah, right.
She's like Kobe Bryant.
That idea of a musical
No, that's what
assassin.
it is, man. That's I see musicians as superheroes.
Talking about that,
Mm-hmm. That's and even Leia. Leia is even funnier because Leia Rich, she's an incredible singer, and I was like, yo, you should bring the box. And she was like, no way. Yeah. Like most great singers would say that. No. I don't know.
You got to have that encouragement. Right?
And I said, Leia, you should really try it. And so Camilla went on tour, and Leia stepped in and became our vocalist at Producer Mondays. And she brought it reluctantly, and I was pushing her to really dig into it. Yeah. And so she was like, okay, and she would try stuff, and and it would work. And then before you know it, she's like, I have to tell her, okay, like, chill for a second. She's another assassin on that box. She found her voice.
Nice.
And now she's like, oh my God. And she said to me, I don't care about looking good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the true sign of an artist. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I love working in the music industry. I love that someone can like figure out a way for them to have their own voice, whether it's someone helping them with their voice, where they have co-writers, ghostwriters, producers, whatever. Yeah. However you get to your thing, I'm not saying that you don't have the right to do that, but in the world of manipulation and cloak and dagger, it's great that you can do that, but an artist who's really talented, who might get told, you're too fat, or you're too this, you're too that, they don't get that same opportunity, and then they're discouraged from even trying. So I want to, I did a master class for some kids in Pittsburgh.
You were the artist in residence?
Artist in residence at MCG Jazz.
Okay.
And I went to I did a master class at a place called Center of Life, where it's like an afternoon program for kids. They can do music, they can do art, they can DJ, they can learn all these different skills from professionals. And during the master class, one girl raised her hand. She was like, they say you have to sound like this person, or what do you think about this? This is a little girl asking me this. She's in high school, asking me about, does she, she has to sound like this person, but she doesn't really like that, sounding like anyone else. She wants to be herself, and I said, you know what? I give you permission to be yourself. And that's what I want to create with Produce Money, is to sort of like get artists to, I would do I've worked with so many people, and I would do studio sessions where I would be replaying samples. I would do studio sessions where, I'm not going to name the producer. I did this whole classical thing, and then when it was done, the producer said he produced it. He doesn't play a lick of. He couldn't tell you where middle C was if his life depended on it. He had nothing about music, and I was like really hurt by that, because I was excited to work with this producer. But then he didn't have the decency to say, "Wow, this guy really came in. Let me make him a producer on this record," because he clearly did his thing, and that's what I do. And so it really bothers me when artists don't get the recognition, and you get sort of this word that I fucking hate, work for hire. I fucking hate that. I'm not a work for hire. You're asking me to bring my creative energy to something that you're trying to do. Yeah. To me, that's a collaboration.
I think, can we go back to that Pittsburgh moment where that one of your students that you were doing this masterclass with was asking you that question? Can you revert, because you have so much conviction and clarity of vision right now. Can you reverse this and take us to the moment where you were that kid? And maybe God. didn't feel that. Oh man, that clarity or permission. Was there a moment that you were given permission, or what was that like?
That my whole
when you were a kid,
I would say my whole childhood, I felt like that.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
What was
absolutely?
Like you didn't have permission to be yourself.
No, I felt like but not. Because anyone told me that.
Classical training, correct?
This classical training, yeah. Okay. But I also grew up in the church as well. I just never felt. I was always looking outside of myself.
Take a step back. Where did you grow up?
Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida. And like, what was the?
I'm from Albany. I was born in Albany, Georgia, but I was raised in Miami, Florida. My mother's from Nassau, Bahamas, and my father's from Albany, Georgia. And my father was in the military.
Siblings?
I have 3 brothers.
3. You are the oldest?
I'm the oldest, yeah.
Oh, you're the oldest. Okay.
Yeah. And my father basically was in the military. And he used to, he was very sick when he got out of the military. He was, he used to have strokes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, this is so weird, but I was like 3 years old and my dad had a stroke. And it was just he and I in the house. Mm. And I basically, I don't know what got a hold of me, but I took my father's hand. We walked out of the house and I walked him to the neighbor's house. And my father was like, he was just like, like this, like a vegetable. Yeah. And I walked him to our neighbor's house and the neighbor called the hospital. Oh my God. Around, like not next door, like around the corner, behind the house, Chills. And so that moment, I just, I don't know. I've always wanted to take care of people. So I always felt like I was always looking outside of myself for validation. Mm. So I was around really great gospel musicians and on the gospel scene. And I always was always chasing what someone else was doing.
This is like while you were growing up in Miami, you were at the church playing there while also being classically trained.
Well, I was in high school. All I did was play classical music. Yeah. And as a side thing, I was playing classical. I was playing gospel because I wanted to learn how to play by ear. Yeah. So I could read music. Yeah. But it's sort of like when you see someone playing jazz. If you're a classical player and you see someone playing jazz, you're like, ooh, what is that? Yeah. That was me.
My upbringing there.
That was me, my whole high school, in high school and even, in middle school as well. But then something clicked where it just sort of like, I was like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, and I just sort of merged the worlds of classical and gospel, and then playing. When I went to college, that's when it really clicked for me, because then I was outside of the world where I was chasing someone else's sound, and then I sort of started to find my own sound.
Yeah.
In the instance, to answer your question about not getting credit, I mean, I feel like,
or even like permission.
The permission, right?
Permission.
It was that, like, that is, as you are a figure now, you are visible in so many different spaces, and for you to give that permission to that student, say, I'm giving this. We didn't all have. We were just sitting with another guest, this guy Andy Mann. He was talking to Jane Goodall, and we were just talking about, like, who's Jane's Jane.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and like, I think your influence is Duke Ellington, Oscar Peterson, but there's classical ones as well. And things is like, did you have someone that kind of gave you that permission, or there was a moment in terms of the environment and the spaces that you were in that said, I'm feeling the permission now?
Well, I have to say this. So even though I was around people who sort of made me feel like I wasn't good enough, I was around those kind of people. But then I was also around people who were like, "Hey, you can do this." So
some of those folks?
Here's what's really funny. And I have to make this phone call once we're done. There's a gentleman named Reverend Peters.
Okay.
Who was, I must have been 5 or 6 years old. I was just learning how to play. And there was a woman named Mrs. Dunn who sort of took me under her wings. And I was learning from her how to play the organ. And I played at Reverend Peters' church. This church was down the street from my home church. So my parents would drop me off at the church. I would play organ. They would pay me like, $50 or $75. And it was a great experience. Do you know, I just performed my music in Pittsburgh this past week with the Pittsburgh Jazz Orchestra. I wrote a song a piece for the orchestra, and the event was amazing. Do you know, the first person, I went out, at the end of the show, I went out, and the first person that comes up to me, this is so weird. Person says, "Do you know Reverend Peters?"
Oh, my
and I was
gracious.
like, yeah. And he shows me his phone number. It's like, oh wow. Well, he and his wife were gonna come, but his wife got sick and they couldn't come, and they sent us. And he wants to talk to you. He lives in Pittsburgh.
Get out of here.
Isn't that crazy?
And you hadn't been in touch?
I have not been in touch with him since I was a little kid.
Wow.
And then you're performing this orchestra.
I'm performing with the Pittsburgh Jazz Orchestra, and this guy comes to the show.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
That's beautiful. That's amazing.
Amir is a really big proponent. I love it because I've adopted this language into my own vocabulary about synchronicities.
Synchronicity like a motherfucker.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. And we talked a little bit, I think, when we were at MoMA once about the alchemist.
Yeah.
And the omens.
Yeah.
Right. That demonstrate that you're in the right place. Doing the right thing and on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah. But I definitely had people like him that gave me permission.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can't say that I've always felt like it didn't have permission, but working in the music industry, now that's a totally different thing. I didn't have that feeling of, oh, you have permission, because I would do sessions and I'll often leave the sessions feeling like, oh man, this is going to be my opportunity.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, either there was a sample and, I didn't get any writer's credit because whoever this sample took all the publishing. So it's a very vicious game when you're working in the music industry. But I think things are changing now. I just feel like
I think finding those people that are giving you permission is the thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
There's something that I wrote down from yesterday. I was sitting at the cafe with my AirPods. It was on noise canceling mode while the Panamanian Day Parade was happening outside.
Wow.
So it was like a very interesting setting. All that was happening. I was in this cafe. I was writing in my journal, sipping my coffee, listening to you.
Wow.
And I wrote down a couple things that I think you're naturally speaking to right now anyway. One of the things that you said was the universe is listening.
Yeah. Yeah. The universe does listen. When you say, hey, I want to do such and such, I want to do such, do you know, I remember I had a girlfriend when I was dating this girl in the early 2000s. And I remember I don't know how this conversation came up, but we were talking about, I was saying, oh man, I said, oh man, I wish I could play with an orchestra. And she said, well, you can, why can't you? And I was like, oh, it's not possible.
Right.
And I had another girlfriend when I was in college. And she and her mom, I was like talking about, oh man, I was living in DC at the time. I was like, oh man, I wish I could play at Carnegie Hall. And her mom said, well, why can't you? You can. And I was like, it's impossible. It's Carnegie Hall. Do you know I played at Carnegie Hall 5 times?
Right.
Not one.
Right.
5 times.
Right.
And one of those times was so significant. I was helping to recompose the music of Prince.
Incredible, which is one of your favorite artists.
Which is one of my favorite artists. He's the reason why when I went to Paisley Park, when I went to his office and I saw all the books that he had, and I was like, wow. I felt like he was giving me permission to take charge of Producer Mondays. Mm-hmm. That's Beautiful. The instance when I saw the mural of all the artists that he had worked with. And I said to myself, you know, I want to change the world, and I want to have an ocean of people whose lives I've made better. You know, that's what I want, you know? And being at Prince's place, really at Paisley Park, sort of gave me that permission to want to do that, you know?
You also said, I want to create music that resonates with the whole world because music is a universal language.
Yeah, I believe that. So when I was like 6 years old, my mother's side of the family is very, very religious. Very, I won't say religious.
Spiritual?
I'll say spiritual.
Great.
And because there was a difference
from Nassau.
From
right?
Nassau.
Great.
My Bahamian family put so much love into me as a kid.
Beautiful.
And my love for music, they also gave me permission. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why I love my mother's side of the family so much, because they really helped me to understand the power of music, because we would sing when we had family gatherings. We would sing before dinner. We would sing after dinner. We would have parties.
Wow.
And music was always around.
Wow.
You know, I would be playing the piano. My mom was singing. My dad. It was a beautiful
family band.
That's it.
It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful environment. You know, and my mother's side of the family really nurtured my love for music and community. And when I was very young, when I was literally learning how to play piano, my aunts used to pray. They used to pray over my hands. I remember one. I had my aunts would come, and my parents would be away, and my aunt would say, "Get the prayer, get the oil," and I'll bring the oil, and she would just take the oil and rub it on my hands and pray for my hands. And my aunts used to pray, God, give him the music for the people.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Give him music for the people. And I didn't really understand what that meant, but now I do. And so now it's sort of like, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. And now, I'm working. I've composed my first symphonic work.
Talk about that.
It's called Black Athena Power. And Black Athena Power, I love history, and also feel like, as musicians, we're storytellers. So I wanted to tell this. I wanted to go back and, for example, like in America, we learn what I call cookie cutter history. Everyone knows just enough to know that they don't know anything about what's really going on in the world. And so that's why you have these people who are, anyway. But in Europe, their educational system is totally different, and so I wanted to talk about the story of concerning the Greeks and the Egyptians, because when I was traveling to Paris, I used to go to the Louvre, and when I would go see the sculptures, I noticed on one side is the Egyptian exhibit, and on the very opposite end are the Greek sculptures at the Louvre. And one day it just hit me. I said, wait a minute. They look like the Egyptians. These sculptures, they look just like the Egyptians. What's going on? And then I was like, wait a minute. They were like hanging out. Hey man, what's up? They were, you know what I mean? They were sharing. They were sharing and trading ideas. They were loving, I mean, I'm just speaking generally right now, but I just wanted to dig deep into that relationship. And then I'm sort of like, not trying to rewrite history, but just sort of awaken what was already there. That was maybe, how can I say this? Sort of buried,
dormant.
So that really no one really knows what truly happened, because I feel like everything now is geared towards people not being on the same wavelength, but being at odds, like being envious of your pen. Oh, where'd you get that pen? Not knowing that. Oh, let me use. Can I borrow your pen? Yeah. Cool. Here's. I got another pen.
Yeah.
And we can share ideas. We can coexist without being at odds. We can embrace our differences. So, Black Athena Power was literally about that. Beautiful. And it was in 3 movements. And it was a beautiful experience. I was commissioned by the Lexington Symphony. And Jonathan McPhee was the conductor, and he really gave me permission to be a composer. There's this theme of giving permission. It's a really reoccurring theme, and that was something I always wanted to do. And I was really scared when the last note was played. Yeah, and everybody loved it. And I long for the day that I can perform that again. So now I'm working on my next symphonic work. The working title is The Saga of Cain and Abel Reborn, and it's probably not going to be the title, because I don't want it to have the religious, because then people are going to expect the story of Cain and Abel. Yeah, I don't want it to be that, because I want to tell the story of 2 brothers who clearly are at odds, but through some sort of miracle, they figure out, they find that centerpiece that brings them together, and they figure out, wow, they share notes, and they're able to get the task done that they're supposed to get done, and they both fulfill their purpose. And then there's God, the Creator, has empathy for the world again.
Beautiful.
And that's the story I want to tell. It's not the story of, I'm going to kill my brother. Yeah. Why?
I mean,
why?
As siblings, we understand.
Yeah. But why?
That's
know what I mean?
Important right now to
exactly
in this time and place, in this Kairos.
Exactly.
Right? It's so important. That's the message that needs to be boosted.
Yeah. That's exactly why I'm doing it.
Right.
And I hope that, I pray that, that I can get through to people. You know what I mean? It's just that's the hard part. It's a lot of noise.
The reasons that carry your intent right now with producing that art, producing that work, and the reasons that you want to put it out into the world, man, like that's just like 1% of the impact it's actually going to have, right?
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to need to have heard the thing that was said or the note, the way it was struck. Like you're never going to know.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's coming from that source code, from that space of intent that you just spoke into that microphone right there, the fact that that's where it's coming from, it's going to do its job.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, this is why I'm happy to be here, right? I think like we're all in our own ways trying to elevate and uplift the folks that have that clarity and intention to have that kind of impact, right? And I think you're in this incredible space with whether it's a symphony or a Producer Mondays or a film soundtrack, whatever it is,
right.
like you're taking these notes and you're incepting them into our brains to give us permission. The same, all these moments of permission, like there's the through line, like as you're telling the story, like it's so clear. It's so clear. And I want to I want to give some. I want to take a step back because we were talking about this at the beginning, especially like being mindful of time and being in this beautiful space of like the platforms and the spaces that you're at. Is there a moment when it kind of hit you like I really can have this impact? Because I'm hearing one side which is beautifully humble,
humility, yeah,
right?
absolutely,
that
right.
You do work that you still feel nervous about.
And you're
that
still
is
in
the
awe.
path to artistry.
You're still in awe of it,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're
I
talking.
freak out every time.
It's amazing because you're talking about people on your stage. And you're like, oh, Leia, come on, you're fine. And then you are within 2 breaths of that. You're talking about like that last note of that symphony, like
Yeah.
right. And it's so
It's
funny,
beautiful,
like
man.
you reverse that role, and there you are,
Yeah.
like in the exact same space that Leia's was feeling,
Yeah.
and right, and it's the producer, the person at that program that gave you that permission,
Yeah.
right. So I want to just round this out, like you have a platform and a space like Fallon, that's a space joining the Roots, and I'd love for you to give one story about just when that transitory moment set, when you were like, okay, either walking on the show for the first time, and that could be with the Roots or Fallon, like what feels most at home for you right now? Because those places you have real visibility and impact. You're talking about all these people you're connected to, but right, it's the Spider-Man quote. We're talking about superheroes. With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
When your
Right.
Avengerness became clear to you,
And-
you're like,
Wow.
And I don't know if you've seen the show Vikings.
Yeah, I love that show.
I love that show.
I love that show.
I don't know if you know what I'm about to quote, but one of my favorite things is when Ragnar is talking to his son about power. And he says, power is only given to those who are willing to bend down and pick it up. Right? And
Yeah.
I see that in where you are, right? That there is a humility that encompasses the spaces you occupy. And the people that no doubt you're with. So I'd love for you to for one of those pivotal moments, because I think for listeners that don't know you or see you in that context, but I know for me, it's often like, how did I get here? How did they get there? Because there are listeners that have incredible vision. So can you paint one of those 2 spaces, how they manifested?
First of all, it goes back to be careful what you ask for. You just might get it right. I will answer it like this. When I was 19, I discovered the music of Wynton Marsalis, and I was really enamored with Kenny Kirkland, the pianist. On his record, on Wynton's record, Black Codes. And then I got a chance to meet Kenny, and Kenny released his album called, Kenny Kirkland. And I remember I was like, oh my God, what is this record? What is this? And he had this one song. I will play this.
Please.
hell yeah.
We got Ray stepping up on the Steinway here.
Yeah. He had this song. Anyway, what is it? this, and he was explaining to me what the thing was, what the rhythms were, and I was like, wow. And anyway, he and I, after that, and then this other song that I really
This is following you.
Anyway, Kenny Kirkland, man.
Legend.
Fucking love Kenny. It's like, anyway, so Kenny is the reason that I love playing classical music. I love playing jazz. I love playing hip hop. I love playing all styles of music because he was one of the first guys I saw that was versatile. And he was on the Tonight Show. So when I was 19, I dropped out of Howard University because I'm a Howard grad. Well, not at this time I wasn't. I was at Howard and I dropped out of school to go on the road with this group called Shy. And I was in LA and I was still loving classical music, loving jazz, but I wanted to experience what it was like playing on the road. And so I was in LA. And they used to play at this place called the Bellagio every Wednesday. So I used to go see them every Wednesday. And whenever I would see them play, Jeff Tane Watts, that's my brother, love him. He and Kenny Kirkland would play. And I tell you, when I would hear them play, the flesh, you could see my hairs on my skin. I was just, the energy was just so high. And so they were playing on the Tonight Show. Fast forward, 2008, the Roots are the band for the Tonight Show, for Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. Oh and so my friend Megan Stabile was like, hey,
rest in power.
You know, the Roots are in town. They're looking for a keyboard player. You should really go to this jam session, so they can hear you. And I was like, okay. And prior to that, I didn't really know them, but the manager for the Roots, Richard Nichols, he had his assistant reach out to me because, when there's a new kid on the block, people hear about you. So somehow people got word that I was in New York City. And so his assistant called me and said, hey, can you go to LA, can you go to Philly to do a session with Questlove? I didn't know who Questlove was. And so I go to the studio. I think it was for a commercial or something. And Quest was like, yeah, what's up? Yeah. All right. We gotta do this thing, All right, cool. Play this, whatever. Not much direction. And so I played the thing. I was like, okay. And I left, and that was it. I didn't hear anything back that was my first session with Questlove. He probably doesn't even remember this. And then the next thing I hear, there's a studio session for this artist named Josh Stone, and Quest manager, Richard Nichols, had his assistant reach out to me and asked me to do the session. This became Josh Stone's first album, and that's how I became friends with Josh Stone. And on this session was Nile Rodgers, Cindy Blackman, Jack Daly. So basically, the band for Lenny Kravitz. Angie Stone was on the session. She was playing keyboards. I was playing keyboards. Angie Stone was there. Anyway, it was a really dope session. So, long story short, the Roots are doing Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. They asked me to, be, can you come Friday to place on the show? I was like, cool. This person can't make it. So James Poyser, with my good brother, would have me come and sub for him whenever he was busy. So basically, whenever James couldn't be there, I would be there. So then I'm finding myself on TV. And I'm like, but I'm a sub. Then the pandemic hits, and I'm still sort of like, on TV a little bit. And then James is like, hey man, can you do 2 days a week? Because, I'm busy doing film work. And he's like, cool. And I was already cool with Jimmy because I was doing Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. So I've known him for a long time. So the Tonight Show hires me to be there 2 days a week. So now I'm on TV 2 days a week. You know, sometimes they would have suits for me. The suits wouldn't really fit that well. So now I have really nice suits.
Tight. Amazing. That happen to be tight sometimes.
What is the lesson learned? Get a nice suit. Get a nice fitting suit.
I got, you know, I'm getting nice suits, and I'm like, oh shit, like, you know. And I think the moment when I was there's so many great moments. First of all, there was a moment when I was on a show. I was playing with Stevie Wonder, Michelle Obama was there. And there's a picture of us somewhere online. You can see me, I'm back, you know, there with Stevie Wonder. And then I was on there with Madonna, you know, and I was on the show with Tyler the Creator.
Great, man. I love where his music is going. But these are all like you're deeper in.
Yeah.
That first time when you were subbing, was your headspace, was that nervousness at the same in that last moment of Black Athena? Or was it like, I'm cool,
I'm
you know
here.
what, these
I'm
are my
supposed to
homies,
be
I'm
here,
good?
yeah.
You know,
right? Or it's
honestly,
the gravity of what we were talking about, kind of bringing it back to the question of like, who was the person that you saw on Late Night that had, what was the name of the person that was it Kirk that you saw on Late Night?
But Kenny Kirkland.
Kenny Kirkland, yeah. The gravity of that full circle that now you're here.
You're here.
Yeah.
Was that hitting?
Like
reflect a little bit here.
It's crazy. Like sometimes it doesn't really hit me until I really think about it. But now that you're bringing it up, it's really
that's what we're here for.
It's really amazing, you know. But the first time playing on the Tonight Show, I was nervous because, you know, you're playing music and you're like, you got to be quick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's sort of like you gotta listen to what. You know, you have to react really quickly, and I can't remember the first time because I've done the
Blacked
show.
out.
I've done this show for so long, but I don't know. It just feels like second nature now.
Cool.
You've surpassed the threshold.
I don't think I've passed the threshold yet. I think because even with television, there's always something new. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to be prepared for anything. You know.
You know, I want to recognize and also kind of give a picture for our listeners that the threshold that we're talking about and the picture that is your life is you got off of a plane to come here, and I am also going on a plane. You have an incredible human coming here. I don't want to say names unless you're coming here later. You do that show 5 nights a week. You are doing Producer Mondays. Like, some might say you don't even have the time to have that kind of reflection. Like, you're just in the zone, in the groove. Right?
I mean, well, first of all, that's very true. I mean, so not to bring everybody down, but my parents, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, all passed away like 12 years ago, like a year apart from each other. And then about 2 years ago, my 2 brothers passed away, my brother Dexter and Travis. So like my album.
Yeah. This is Ray Angry 1?
Yeah, this is
beautiful, man.
This is great promo. Time to promote my record. So basically, my brothers died, and then I was JMI Recordings wanted me to do my second record, and I was like, you know, kind of like, man, you know, I don't feel like doing a record, you know, it's really, and they made me do a record, and I went to the studio, and this is after my brothers had passed, and I was like really sort of at a loss for words, not really knowing how to feel about anything. And I went to the studio, and Steinway gifted me a piano for my record, and to use in the recording. They didn't give me a piano. Yeah,
we've already got the best one right here.
Yeah, and I basically this whole record, I just played the whole record in one day. That was my album, Ray Angry 1. I played the record in one day, and then, you have songs on here. Like I just yeah. Let me just open this up.
I gotta show you something.
I just
After this that. So I mentioned that everyone in my family plays music. My mom, my dad's a classical guitarist. My grandmother, her teacher was Shostakovich. My mom also paints, and this is like the multi-hyphenate things. And one of the most important pictures in my home is almost identical to what is on the back.
wow.
It is.
Oh, that's crazy.
It is two hands cuffed like this, which are my grandfather's.
Wow.
And I'll show you the picture later. But it is a big part of it is the truth that is sort of representative in what you see in a person's hands, right? Like in terms of artist hands, workman hands, people that have done all that kind of stuff. So that back image is like, and even like what that clasp represents is so gorgeous and powerful.
Yeah. So this, this record is just
chock full.
It's just really cool. All these songs are dedicated to people that have had a positive impact on my life. And so I wrote a song for my mother called Mother's Love. All of this, I just wanted to, this was my dedication to them passing. This is, I never take a break. I'm always working,
Yeah.
And so this was sort of my, generous king. That's about my father. In the end, we win. That's about my father. Everything Dilla. I love Jay Dilla. Prince, where are you? I'm a huge Prince gave me permission. I feel like he's sort of talking to me and saying, "Hey, man, keep going."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Go with that idea. Don't let that. Don't let that go.
This is what I'm hearing is. I mean, what you just said, you were always working, always grinding, always traveling, right? Like, one thing we were talking about in anticipating talking to you was just, and it's come up a few times of like understanding the boundaries, the things that keep you healthy, that keep you inspired, that keep you going, because you need to be regimented, right? We were talking even, we're going to shout out Kachava right now, but like your diet, everything impacts. So how do you stay tuned, right? To use an apropos musical term for the piano.
For me, fitness is something that I have like not a love-hate relationship with, but something that's always calling me.
Yeah.
So for me, fitness is everything. Working out, being in the gym. So I started something with a friend of mine named Jesse called Art Fit. And Art Fit was something that I was doing around 2018 because I wanted to be a better version of myself. And so I got into fitness and and I did something called the Spartan race.
Oh, you did that?
I did the Spartan race.
Get out, dude.
And I did the Spartan race. And then a month later, I broke my wrist.
Yeah, you did. Wow. Wow, that is a gnarly scar that we're looking at, right? This is your left wrist.
Yeah, I had a surgery and I had to sort of learn how to play piano again.
Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah. So it's pretty deep. But but for me, working out, the idea of just rehabilitating my wrist just taught me so much about intention and also relaxing and also the importance of stretching. Not just your mind, but your body as well.
Yeah.
So for me, fitness is everything. It's something that I will always have in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, your diet. I'm still trying to figure out the diet thing. Because, the thing about being vegan, I feel like being vegan is sort of like a fad, I think it's like, I think you just eat vegetables and fruit and you're good, and you eat good food that doesn't have
get
shit
food
in
that's
it.
colored different colors, and as long as it's not food dye, it's natural.
No dyes, no preservatives, just natural food, So that's kind of where I'm at with it, But it's all about just being natural and just really taking care of yourself,
I really experience you taking care of all aspects of yourself, your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. I think that's something that I'm sure is very clear to both of us now, how holistic and intentional, and how much intention you bring to your life in a very holistic way. Before we even got started, I saw some crystals outside.
Yeah.
On your table outside.
Yeah.
I see the Palo Santo over here. I
Yeah.
see more, just so many things. I noticed immediately, cool, he likes purple. This is happening. The yoga mat over there, those gnarly shoes, this beautiful crystal ball here. Like, it's very clear. We talk about this also with some of our guests. The way you do one thing is the way you do all things.
Wow. I didn't think about that. Wow.
And that's really evident as well, even before we sat down, when you're like, I don't want to just be boxed up as a pianist.
Yeah.
You are creating, you're putting your life force out, and it just happens to be shining in a musical context, but there's other avenues that your light is shining.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, I think, just a beautiful nod to your lineage and your family, the Bahamian spirituality, the washing of your hands, and how all this is coming out with your physical, spiritual, emotional body, like all of that holistic nature. It's just clear to me. And I wanted to reflect that back to you.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I recently saw Anderson .Paak at Jones Beach.
Yeah, Maurice. I literally just saw Maurice yesterday.
Yeah.
Maurice, who's the musical director that he works with, Silk Sonic. Yeah. He was talking and he was like, "Yeah, man, I was just there and rolled through another session." But all the folks.
And you know, I was sitting there in the audience. First of all, this is I never get to be a civilian in the music world, in the musical context, and watching Anderson .Paak's show. Number one, I remember seeing him playing in St. Louis outside and he had he was playing on a stage. And I forget who I was playing with. Maybe I was playing with the Roots, or I can't remember who I was playing with. But he was opening up, and it was a nice crowd, but it wasn't that many people. But to fast forward to now, and to see him on this big stage with not just lights, but production.
Yeah. Right.
Not just production, but like real musicianship.
Badass.
Everything. He's not just running Pro Tools.
Right, exactly.
These guys are playing.
Oh yeah.
This
is that level.
It's that level. And he's one hell of a drummer. And he was talking, and the cool thing I love about him, the show was talking about relationships, and more importantly, he was talking about his family. And I felt when I was watching his show, I felt like I was experiencing his development and all the things he had to endure to get to that point.
Sure.
Because he said something in the show that really, really resonated with me. I wanted to say this to him backstage, but I didn't want to bring the vibe down.
We'll share it to him.
I'm saying it now. First of all, I love Anderson .Paak, and I really do hope that I get to connect with him in the studio. Him and Bjork. Wouldn't that be crazy?
You do like Bjork.
Anderson .Paak and Bjork.
You watch. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Just watch.
You just wait. It's already happening.
And an orchestra.
Okay.
We'll
be there.
And Thundercat, and who else?
Okay.
Thundercat. I did this record with
Great.
Thundercat.
Clear.
And Kareem. Oh my God. Anyway.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going.
I'm getting excited. Getting ahead of myself. Those are the girls. See? They're showing me this.
Yeah. Right, they show you the future. Listen, the dots connect backwards.
Yeah. And so he was on stage and he said, sometimes I wanted to quit. But I wanted to quit. He said, sometimes I wanted to quit this music shit, but I'm really glad that I didn't. And when he said that, and the way he said it, he didn't say it like that, but the way he said it, I understood exactly what he meant. Because as an artist, sometimes you're giving your all into what you want to do, and then sometimes you don't get that support that you need.
Yeah, of course.
And it's hard to push through when you don't have that foundation or support to get to the next level as an artist. But for him to have this tour, it must have been at least 8,000 people at Jones. How many people fit in Jones Beach?
A lot.
Yeah.
Enough.
the place was damn near sold out.
Yeah.
And for him, I'm pretty sure that was an incredible experience for him to go from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
You know, and I really was inspired by that, by watching him, you know, perform. And to me, that's the takeaway, is to keep pushing through.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
You know.
You say that, and you say that the dots that's connecting for me right now is that one thing you said when we first sat down. It's things just come to me. And what I'm hearing also is it's this like higher fidelity of self-expression. It's self-expression. Expressing yourself is that life force and that attractive life force. And as you keep doing it, you refine it, you calibrate it, and it becomes a higher fidelity. Just like what you said about Anderson on the stage. Like I remember him, he was there, and now he's here able to express himself at a higher fidelity.
Yeah.
Everything beyond that is a result. It's an outcome.
Yeah.
And then you put that intention out there with that vibration, and it comes to you. So it's not even up to you anymore.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not even up to you. You see these visions for a reason. That comic book and everything, all these things. We don't know exactly how they're going to manifest quite yet.
Yeah.
But the vision is there. All you got to do is keep showing up.
Yeah.
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 So I think being mindful of time.
Yeah, we're good.
I mean, we're showing up here. I think everyone's showing up here. This is beautiful. Ray, I want to say thank you so much.
Yeah, we're good on time. You got some more questions? I'm kind of going now.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know,
Sure.
This can't be over yet.
this is the dangerous thing, you know?
Okay, I have a little bit more to that.
See?
To that web.
I mean,
to that
hey,
wavelength right
I
there.
know.
like, I just want to be
I could feel that there was more.
You open up a
I could
danger
feel that.
Pandora's box over here.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God, I love it. Yes. And this, I think, continues where we are now and loops it back into Producer Mondays. And on the theme of self-expression and self-actualization, I recently learned, we know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, yeah?
No, but I
The
do
pyramid.
now.
Articulate it for us, please.
So what you can visualize is a pyramid.
Okay.
Where the base, our primary human needs are at the base, which are food, shelter, right, clothing, and water. And then you go up one level, up the pyramid, and it's the family bonds and the relationships and the community, right?
Okay.
And then you get to this sort of third layer. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that third layer is self-actualization.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. I recently learned a reframe to that indigenous wisdom almost views it in the reverse. So you reverse it and you start out self-actualized. And then the highest level then from there is to actualize in community.
That's Ubuntu. Yeah.
Wow. It's like put on your mask first and then help someone else with theirs.
Yes.
Yes.
We're born this way. We're born this way. And then our job is to create the scaffolding to enable others to do that.
Yeah.
And that's all, the whole time you were talking about Producer Mondays, this is all I was thinking.
Wow.
Is this man is creating scaffolding, is creating the conditions to empower others
Wow.
to elevate themselves.
Wow.
And then it
That's
lives
pretty
beyond
much it.
itself.
That's Producer Mondays. That's exactly it.
Clear.
I need to do a version of that can compete with Spotify.
Yeah.
You know, the thing I noticed about I know they're gonna hate me for this. The thing I noticed about Spotify is that people like to see beautiful things on paper, and Spotify has created a way of giving you a map of how to make money and to make you feel like, oh, I'm helping the artist. But they do it really well on paper, like these graphs where artists can and this percent and this percentage and this percentage and then the record companies are buying into Spotify, and then so therefore this idea of what they're supposed to be doing is not what they're doing, but it looks good on paper.
Sure.
You know, when they do the graphs and they give out these reports of, oh, you have 20,000 listeners, 200,000 listeners. Congratulations. It looks good on paper. And everyone shares the paper. But no one's really getting the money, you know? But they're sort of like, it's sort of like smoke and mirrors, you know? So in addition to what you're saying about the pyramid, I just hope that there's a way to take Producer Mondays and create sort of, this is why I call it a studio session, because I want to make records.
Yeah.
These records that you can take home or purchase. Boom, bump, bump. Artists come through, they have new record. I have a new song. Da, da, da. Oh, great, boom. You know, and if I have a big network, a huge, you know, say if I have 20 million people on this network, then it's sort of like,
wow,
oh shit,
that's so
boom.
generative. It's so generative. It's
That's
decentralized. It can scale.
I mean, you have like huge. I mean, the Grateful Dead did this for ages, but like bands like Fish and stuff, it's like every concert, it's all recorded. You get it right there, right, and you leave with this experience, knowing. And this is what's so cool about the live experience, which I think is irreplaceable, right? Is that you can walk into this space, you can listen to something, you can listen to the same song next week, and you want to listen to both of those because they're different, right? Because it's the space in the room, it's the energy of the people, right? It all kind of contributes to that. It is that paper. I think of, it's almost like dating, right? You got all these apps, you got all these things that, like on the website, like you look good on paper, but the moment you meet in real life, you're like, nah, this ain't gonna work. Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
or this is good, but like you'll only know that in real life.
Yeah.
Right. And that is, which is like, I've even asked you after a session, I'm like, oh, yo, that was good. Like, can I hear that? You're like, that's for the release. Right. So we'll see what we can share with the listeners.
That's the part that I think that's going to be the fun part, is to be able to, again, it takes a village to do what I'm trying to do, and having an army of editors and musicians and producers as well to really create this creative machine.
I mean, this is like the Prince trove, right? Like the amount of recordings that we haven't heard is like tenfold.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right, and it's like this stuff, and this is every artist. Like I remember like working with Glasper and like learning about all the different stuff that he is like. We went to the Blue Note. I remember Kanye West and Mos Def and Lupe showed up for that like the Black Radio release, and like all those recordings are sitting somewhere, right? And just this, the Queen Latifah, Tiffany Hadid, like all that kind of stuff. It's sitting and just waiting for the right vision and space and cumulative kind of connection to put it together, and that is part of the story that is Ray, right? When that stuff hits. Get ready for the tidal wave.
So so now let's zoom out a little bit, and how are you seeing the arc of your journey and your life and your career? And I slipped this kind of quote in subtly, but it is like the dots connect backwards, and these two right here help you see that. So the dots,
the ladies above,
they're connecting
There's
backwards.
Always angels around that are helping, pushing.
What are the dots that you're seeing coming? How do you see yourself in relationship to the longer arc that you see right now
for yourself?
That's a very good question. I'm discovering all the things that I love about life. I love food. I love cooking. And recently, I discovered, wow, I love conducting. Like, this is kind of cool, So I love writing. And so for me, it's really about creating content, creating works that are significant. And for me, as with all the different styles of music that I love, working in the film world, to me, is the next sort of like the playground.
Wow.
The playground.
Beautiful.
My talent.
Well done, guys.
Well done. Because in the film world, as an artist, you're a storyteller. And I never wanted to do the same thing over and over. I don't want to play the same piano repertoire for the next 30 years. I don't want to do that. To me, that's boring. And some people love to do that.
Some people don't. Exactly. That's their thing. Great.
That's your thing.
Sure.
And that's great.
No problem.
As a creative person, I can play the same piece 1,000 times differently. Differently 1,000 times. And I have, But, so working in the film world is something that I think really helps me to stay hungry
Cool.
And also, as a storyteller, telling a story through music. I mean, one of my heroes, John Williams, there was an interview where Steven Spielberg was talking about how important the music is in a film. You take the music away from a film.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You have a cue. Everything. The cue doesn't really hit, but you put that do do, what did me play?
I love it.
Whatever.
It was a journey.
Yeah.
But even taking something like that, what I just played, right, and putting it through a bunch of reverb, putting it through guitar pedals, then it takes on a totally different life. Putting it through space echo, then it sort of like opens up all of this sonic playfulness, and I just love, that about films. And you don't have any limitations except for the ones that you're given by the director.
Well, as someone that is in heavy pursuit of this path and doing the director and the film and script supervising thing, it's a village, right? It's an ecosystem. It's one of the things I love the most about film, because it's in the way that you're talking, like, playing the same thing over and over. To me, for film, it's like working with the same people over and over. And you see my heroes, when I look at the Daniels, when I look at your Quentin Tarantinos, your Wes Andersons.
Love Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, yeah. But they've always got that same camp, because they're making different things that has this element of permanence, but they're honing bit by bit, and it's the people, it's the village, and the director doesn't hold all the power. The best, healthiest, most vibrant ecosystems are where people are all working together, and everyone has veto power.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things, Snarky Elephant, my company, where we're trying to create that content that addresses the elephant in the room and stuff, we really want to bring in and make sure every crew has a department of crew experience. Because every person on the crew needs to be heard and valid, and we need to track that. We need to ask questions, because if we want to improve that vibe so that the director doesn't hold all the power, because a director is merely a reflection of the crew that he has. There's no such film that there was only a director.
Same for a ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Same for a ship. Yeah.
And
captain can't be everywhere.
Exactly. and it's about imbuing that trust, and in the best circumstances, the director will say, you know what, let's create a little extra space, or account for, or have that conversation with that composer, and I'm right there with you on the film front.
I love film work, but
I know that this is breaking my heart. This is going to have to be for episode 2.
Yeah.
We're gonna come. I just want to thank you for this time today.
Yeah, man.
Because we're going to get
a
little
flight kit.
Well, I'm telling you, if there wasn't for film stuff that we're doing with Snarky, so if I wasn't catching international flight, I would be sitting here with you for another hour, easy.
Yeah.
Ray, thank you so much for welcoming us into your home.
Seriously, man.
Into this pad of gorgeous artistic fluidity that I'm sure is what did you call it? Fluid music?
Yeah.
There is fluid music happening here for sure. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I can't wait to join you for the next Producer Mondays and see. And I hope everyone that's listening is gonna, when they're in New York, if they're not living here already, is gonna come through on Mondays. Be there at 9:30, ready for that 10 o'clock DJ reset.
Yeah, exactly.
And can I ask before? Can you give us a parting word, a message that you want a listener to hear, and say, if you listen to this episode, if you listen to me speaking, what do you want them to do next?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming here and helping me to convey my passion for my purpose, you know, and I don't take that for granted. And also, I would want people to really come out to Producer Mondays and support us and just tap in, you know. Tap in.
Tap
They're
in.
already tapping in.
That's tapping in.
You know what I mean? You would tap in.
Feel free.
God bless.
Tap that person in.
Yeah.
You know,
So good.
that's the
Right on
universe's sense
cue.
of humor right
swear,
there.
Exactly. Saying
That
we're
is
done.
the
we
know
are
the
done.
universe
Right.
is listening.
It is
100%.
listening. Oh my gosh.
You know,
How's that for timing?
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah. Tap in, and we're gonna, you know, you guys come support us, and we're gonna, you know, make the world a better place through music. And go to my website and check out my music and just support,
dude.
We just need support.
That's it. We're in your
Right.
corner forever.
Thank you so much.
And,
guys.
I need that connect to Bjork.
Yeah,
It's coming.
We'll get a
It's
session
coming.
with you
You're
and
speaking
Anderson.
it
You know what's
out.
funny? Every interview I do, I always mention Bjork. I'm like, yo,
It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time.
I
You
wanna
got to
get in
keep
the
putting
studio.
out into the real world.
Right.
100%.
It's a matter of time.
We're gonna
yeah.
say today is the day.
I don't want to do a
that's gonna
show.
happen.
I want to be in a studio. I don't, you know.
We'll make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, I will do a show after the studio
All right.
session.
I can't.
Oh, yeah,
I can't
right,
wait to be
right.
like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You rock. Thank you so much. We're gonna. Thank you guys. We're gonna do who we have here. An incredible human.